Commander Elena Reyes stood ramrod straight on the gleaming ceremonial platform, the weight of humanity's future pressing down on her shoulders, far more heavily than the decorated International Space Agency uniform she wore. 7 billion people were watching this moment, the culmination of humanity's long dream of first contact. "Steady," she murmured to herself as the alien shuttle's landing ramp extended with a hydraulic hiss. 3 months of frantic diplomatic preparation had led to this moment, the formal welcoming of the Galactic Commonwealth to Earth. The first alien to emerge was Ambassador Trelnak of the Vosuri, a slender, six-limbed being encased in what appeared to be a mechanized exoskeleton. The ambassador's iridescent skin shimmered beneath a transparent faceplate, 4 eyes blinking rapidly in Earth's sunlight. "On behalf of humanity, I welcome." Elena began, but her words died as the ambassador stumbled forward, the exoskeleton emitting a high-pitched whine. "Something wrong." Trelnak gasped through the translation device. "Systems failing." The 5 Vosiri diplomats behind him began to convulse. Their exoskeletons, supposedly designed specifically for Earth's crushing gravity, sparked and smoked. Emergency lights flashed across their control panels. Elena broke protocol instantly, rushing forward as Ambassador Trelnak collapsed. The global broadcast captured her kneeling beside the alien, medical teams frozen in uncertainty at the edges of the platform. "What's happening?" she demanded, military training overriding diplomatic niceties. "Tell me how to help you." Trelnak's outer breathing membranes fluttered erratically. A dark fluid leaked from seams in the exoskeleton. "Not gravity," the alien managed, 4-fingered hand gripping Elena's arm with surprising strength. "Surroundings hostile. Our atmosphere radiation." Elena pressed, signaling frantically for the medical team. The ambassador's translator crackled with static. "Ghosts everywhere. Killing with a touch." With a final mechanical shriek, the exoskeleton shut down completely. Chaos erupted as the remaining Vosiri delegation scrambled backward toward their shuttle. 2 more collapsed before reaching it, their equipment sparking wildly. The security detail moved to intercept, but Elena waved them off. "Let them go," she shouted. "Something's killing them." Within minutes, the shuttle had lifted off, leaving behind only scattered equipment and 1 unconscious ambassador. Medical teams in hazmat suits swarmed the platform, encasing Trelnak in a containment pod. "Get him stabilized for transfer back to their ship," Elena ordered, her voice steady despite the catastrophe unfolding around her. "And someone analyze those equipment failures. I want to know exactly what went wrong." Director Harrington from Global Security grabbed her elbow. "Commander, this is an unmitigated disaster. The world just watched aliens flee from Earth in terror." "They didn't flee from us," Elena said, stooping to collect a small communication device the Vosiri had dropped. Something about Earth itself affected them. Something they didn't anticipate despite all their scanning and preparation. The device suddenly activated in her hand, projecting a holographic transmission. Alien faces argued in their native tongue, the translation stuttering in and out. "Immediate quarantine protocol. Unknown biological weapon. Sterilization maybe only. Council must vote on Sol system containment." Elena's blood ran cold as the implications became clear. The Commonwealth wasn't just retreating from a failed diplomatic mission. They were debating whether Earth posed an existential threat to galactic civilization. "Clear the platform," she ordered, tucking the device into her pocket. "I need to speak with the xenobiology team immediately." As she strode from the platform, Elena's mind raced through the possibilities. Something on Earth, something invisible to both human and alien detection, had nearly killed the Commonwealth delegation on contact. And now they were discussing sterilization options. First contact had failed spectacularly, but that was now the least of humanity's problems. The real question was what happened next, and whether Earth would survive the answer. Dr. Marcus Chen hunched over his workstation, ignoring the security officer hovering at his laboratory door. 3 years since the university had revoked his tenure and labeled his research pseudoscientific nonsense, and now they needed him. "You're certain this equipment was in direct contact with the Vosiri?" he asked, not looking up from the alien device he was carefully scanning. Commander Elena Reyes nodded. Ambassador Trelmack was holding it when he collapsed. Whatever affected them, this was exposed to it. Marcus adjusted his spectacles and frowned at the readings. "There's something here. Energy degradation patterns I've never seen before." He looked up, eyes bright with vindication. "But I theorized about them." "Your invisible ecosystem theory," Elena said. "You've read my papers." Surprise colored his voice. "All 7 of them. After what happened yesterday, I read everything remotely relevant." She leaned closer to the scanner display. "What are we looking at, exactly?" Marcus tapped commands, enhancing the microscopic view. "Energy parasites. Organisms so small and electromagnetically transparent that they're virtually undetectable with standard equipment. They don't interact with matter the way normal life forms do. They feed directly on energy fields, like the ones powering the aliens' exoskeletons." "And their biology," Marcus confirmed. "Commonwealth species appear to use bioelectric fields at frequencies these organisms find delicious." He pointed to degradation patterns. "These microorganisms evolved alongside humans. We're immune because we don't generate the right kind of energy signature." Elena's communicator buzzed urgently. She checked the message and paled. "The Commonwealth ship is reporting widespread systems failures and crew illnesses, even among those who never set foot on Earth." Marcus straightened, a terrible realization dawning. The contamination is spreading through their ship, which means these organisms aren't just terrestrial, Elena finished. They've already reached space. Every human space mission for decades has been seeding near-Earth orbit with these microorganisms, Marcus said, fingers flying across his keyboard. "Our satellites, the International Space Station, every spacewalk. We've been spreading them beyond our atmosphere without knowing it." Elena's communicator buzzed again. "The Commonwealth Supreme Council is convening an emergency session. They're debating whether to quarantine the entire solar system." Marcus stared at her. "We need to tell people what's happening." 10 minutes later, they were live-streaming their findings to a global audience. Marcus explained the discovery with passionate clarity, pointing to visualizations of the energy parasites that had evolved alongside humanity. "These organisms have been with us all along," he concluded. "They're part of Earth's unique biosphere, invisible guardians that we never knew existed." The broadcast comment feed exploded. Half the viewers were panicked by the revelation that invisible organisms lived inside and around humans. The other half celebrated the cosmic immune system that protected Earth from alien threats. Elena's secure line rang. "The Commonwealth medical ship has docked with their diplomatic vessel," the liaison officer reported. "They've quarantined all personnel who visited Earth. Their medical bay can't eliminate the contamination. These organisms resist all their standard sterilization procedures." "Can they survive?" Elena asked. "For now, but they're scared. Several Commonwealth warships have broken formation and are establishing firing positions. Commander, they're discussing a sterilization protocol for Earth." Marcus, who had been monitoring alien communications, looked up sharply. "Their military faction is arguing that Earth represents an existential threat to the Commonwealth. The parasites could potentially spread throughout their civilization if any contaminated ship reaches a major Commonwealth world. They're going to attack us for a natural feature of our ecosystem," Elena asked incredulously. "From their perspective, we're a planet of walking bioweapons," Marcus said. "And some of them believe the only solution is to eliminate the threat entirely." Elena stared at the alien device, which now showed a Commonwealth tactical display with Earth at its center. Targeting calculations scrolled across the screen. "Then we need to prove we're not just weapons," she said, decision made. "How quickly can you prep for a zero-G environment, Dr. Chen?" Marcus blinked. "You're not suggesting." If they want to sterilize our planet, they'll have to deal with us face to face first. Elena was already heading for the door. We're going up there, directly to the Commonwealth flagship. But we'll be carrying these organisms with us, Marcus protested. We'll be walking contagions. Exactly, Elena said grimly. Let's see if that makes us diplomats. Or weapons. This is either the bravest diplomatic mission in history or the stupidest suicide attempt, Elena muttered, strapping herself into the captured Voziri shuttle. The small craft, abandoned during the disastrous first contact, had been hastily retrofitted for human operation. Beside her, Marcus Chen looked slightly green as the launch countdown began. I've never even been on a roller coaster, he admitted. First time for everything, Elena replied, checking the communication uplink. Ground control, we are go for launch. Operation Parlance is underway. The shuttle shuddered violently as it broke Earth's atmosphere. Through the viewport, Elena watched their planet shrink beneath them, the Commonwealth flagship growing larger above, a massive structure of gleaming curves and pulsing lights. They're hailing us, Marcus reported, studying the alien communication panel, ordering us to turn back immediately. Send the diplomatic authorization codes Ambassador Trelnak provided, Elena instructed. Tell them we're coming aboard to negotiate. The massive ship's docking bay remained closed as they approached. Warning lights flashed across their control panel. They're preparing to fire on us, Marcus said, voice surprisingly steady. Elena opened a direct channel. Commonwealth flagship, this is Commander Elena Reyes of Earth. Your weapons are useless against us. We're carrying the same organisms that disabled your ground team. Fire, and you risk spreading the contamination through debris. Let us dock, and we can discuss solutions. 10 seconds passed before the docking bay reluctantly opened. They landed amid a squadron of armed Commonwealth troops in sealed environmental suits. Well, the good news is they're scared of us, Elena whispered as they prepared to disembark. The bad news is they're scared of us. The moment they stepped from the shuttle, alarms blared throughout the docking bay. Equipment sparked and failed around them. 2 security drones dropped from the air, their power systems dead. We're walking electromagnetic pulse bombs, Marcus breathed, watching as the aliens backed away frantically. They were escorted at a distance to a containment chamber, where a force field separated them from a delegation of Commonwealth officials. Ambassador Trelnak stood among them, looking weakened but recovered. You bring the contagion directly to our ship, the lead official demanded. This confirms our worst fears about human intentions. If we wanted to attack you, we wouldn't have come ourselves, Elena countered. We're here because you're preparing to destroy our planet over a natural feature of our ecosystem that we didn't even know existed until yesterday. As they spoke, the force field fluctuated, its energy being slowly drained by the invisible organisms they carried. Look around you, Marcus interjected. The contamination is spreading despite your precautions, yet we can control it. He raised his hand toward a malfunctioning console, concentrating intently. To everyone's astonishment, including his own, the equipment stabilized briefly. Impossible, breathed a Commonwealth scientist. We've evolved alongside these organisms for millennia, Marcus explained, shocked by what he'd just accomplished. With practice, humans can modulate their effects. The Commonwealth officials conferred urgently among themselves as the ship's systems continued experiencing cascading failures around the humans. Meanwhile, Elena's communicator vibrated with an encrypted message from Earth. Teenagers worldwide, demonstrating telekinetic abilities with electronics. She showed it discreetly to Marcus, whose eyes widened. It's happening faster than I predicted, he whispered. The presence of alien technology is accelerating the symbiosis. Ambassador Trelnak approached the force field. Our scientists have completed their analysis of human DNA, the alien said gravely. The organisms aren't just living alongside you. They've been engineered to integrate with your genetic code. Engineered, Elena repeated. By whom? Someone designed your species as living weapons. Trelnak said. The microorganisms remain dormant until exposed to specific energy signatures, like ours. Your entire civilization is a sleeping arsenal that our arrival has awakened. The force field between them collapsed completely, leaving nothing separating humans from aliens. In the moment of collective shock that followed, a new alarm sounded. Multiple Commonwealth vessels have broken formation, an officer reported. They're charging weapons. Target: Earth. Elena stepped forward. You now have two choices. Work with us to understand what's happening, or declare war on the most powerful biological weapon system you've ever encountered. Dr. Amara Okafor was climbing out of her tent at the Göbekli Tepe excavation site when the ancient stones began to glow. First a faint blue pulse, then a steady illumination that cast eerie shadows across the Turkish hillside. Everyone back, she shouted to her stunned archaeological team, even as she found herself moving closer to the phenomenon. 20 years she'd spent arguing that these 11,000-year-old structures contained anomalous features inconsistent with Stone Age technology. 20 years of academic ridicule. Her satellite phone rang. It was the UNESCO World Heritage Coordinator, Dr. Okafor. Are you seeing the activation? Yes, she answered, watching as previously solid stone walls reconfigured themselves, revealing a descending staircase where minutes before there had been only bedrock. But you won't believe what's happening now. It's not just there, the coordinator replied. Reports coming in from Stonehenge, Mohenjo-Daro, Teotihuacan, Easter Island, dozens of ancient sites activating simultaneously worldwide. Amara ended the call as sections of carved stone slid apart with impossible precision. Her hand trembled as she touched the wall, finding it warm and almost fluid beneath her fingers. Motion detected in subterranean chamber, one of her graduate students called out, watching a ground-penetrating radar display. Something big is moving down there. Amara's phone buzzed again with a priority government alert. Commander Elena Reyes and Dr. Marcus Chen appeared on the screen, broadcasting from what appeared to be an alien vessel. Attention all research teams at activated archaeological sites, Elena began. You are now part of a global first contact scenario. Approach with extreme caution, but document everything. These installations appear to be defensive systems created by a civilization we're calling the Precursors. Amara barely registered the rest of the message as she descended the newly revealed staircase. The air grew warmer, charged with an energy that made her skin tingle. 50 meters below ground, the narrow passage opened into a vast chamber that couldn't possibly exist without having been detected by their surveys. In the center stood a pillar of light, a holographic projection of a humanoid figure with elongated features. When it spoke, Amara understood despite the alien language, the meaning translating directly into her mind. Protocol diaspora activated. Host species integration. 92% complete. Enemy signature detected. Fortress Earth defensive grid initializing. Who are you? Amara asked, her voice echoing in the chamber. The hologram shifted, displaying images of beings that looked almost human, but with subtle anatomical differences. We were the Sentinels. This world was our final fortress. The images changed to show stellar maps, battle scenes, and finally, a merging of the Sentinel DNA with early human ancestors. You merged with us, Amara whispered. Survival protocol. Our civilization was ending. Your species offered compatible genetic structures and remarkable adaptability. We became you. The holographic display shifted again, showing the energy parasites that Dr. Chen had discovered, but engineered, modified, integrated into human cellular structures as defensive measures. The microorganisms were designed to activate in the presence of our ancient enemy, the hologram continued. Your Commonwealth visitors bear energy signatures matching enemy parameters. Amara's blood ran cold. They're not our enemies. They came in peace. Energy signatures do not lie. Fortress protocols are activating. Sterilization countdown initiated. Numbers appeared, floating in the air. A countdown from 72 hours. Sterilization of what? Amara demanded. Solar system perimeter. All detected enemy vessels will be eliminated. Amara backed away, fumbling for her phone. Commander Reyes needed to know what she'd discovered. These weren't just defensive measures. The entire planet was a doomsday weapon, and it had just started its countdown. As she turned to leave, the hologram spoke one final message. Integration was necessary, but incomplete. Human genetic variability exceeded predictions. Some among you have developed capabilities beyond our design parameters. What capabilities? Amara asked. Control. The parasites were meant to act autonomously, but some humans can direct them consciously. These individuals represent an evolutionary fork we did not anticipate, neither fully human nor sentinel. The implication struck Amara like a physical blow. Humanity wasn't just carrying ancient alien weapons. Some of them were becoming something entirely new. Find the awakened ones, the hologram instructed as it began to fade. They alone can override the sterilization protocol. The emergency command center beneath Geneva hummed with frantic activity as world leaders struggled to process the cascade of revelations. On the main display, a massive vessel had just dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system, dwarfing the Commonwealth ships like sharks among minnows. That's not a Commonwealth design, Elena observed, her holographic projection flickering slightly. She and Marcus were still aboard the Commonwealth flagship, now reluctant allies against this new arrival. Karvosh warship, Ambassador Trelnak confirmed, mandibles clicking with obvious fear. Apex predators of the Galactic Rim. They've hunted species to extinction for millennia. A transmission cut across all communication channels. The being on screen was sleek and predatory, with obsidian scales and amber eyes that seemed to burn with cold intelligence. A network of cybernetic implants wrapped around its elongated skull. I am Supreme Hunter Vexnar of the Karvosh Dominion, the creature announced. Your pathetic Commonwealth vessels led us directly to this world. Surrender Earth immediately. On what grounds do you demand our surrender? The UN Secretary-General asked, fighting to keep her voice steady. Vexinar's lipless mouth curved into what might have been a smile. Your creators thought themselves clever, hiding their ultimate weapon inside primitive apes. The Sentinel's final insult to the galaxy, a sleeping doomsday failsafe disguised as an evolving species. We're not weapons, the Secretary-General objected. We're an independent civilization. You are Sentinel technology, wrapped in flesh, Vexnar countered. And we have spent 10,000 years ensuring no Sentinel weapon will ever activate again. The transmission ended abruptly. Moments later, alarms blared as multiple smaller Karvosh vessels deployed toward Mars, where humanity's first extraterrestrial outpost housed 300 researchers. They're testing our defenses, Elena realized, starting with our most vulnerable position. Mars outpost. This is control. The military liaison barked into his headset. Evacuate immediately. Negative. Control, came the calm reply. Evacuation pods aren't sufficient for all personnel. We're implementing defense protocols. The voice belonged to Dr. Diana Reyes, Elena's estranged sister and the outpost's chief scientist. The siblings hadn't spoken in years, not since their bitter disagreement over militarizing space. Diana, Elena breathed, stepping closer to the display. Get out of there now. These aren't explorers like the Commonwealth, they're predators. So I see, Diana replied as the first Karvosh landing craft touched down outside the habitat dome. Their technology is remarkable, completely shielded against electromagnetic interference. Our parasites can't affect their systems from a distance. Everyone watched in horror as armored Karvosh troops breached the outpost's outer doors. But instead of fleeing, the human scientists moved toward the invaders. What are they doing? Marcus whispered. On the tactical display, the first wave of Karvosh entered the main habitat. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then, unexpectedly, their communications went silent. External cameras showed armored troops stumbling, their movements becoming erratic. Their shielding protects against immediate effects. Diana's voice returned, sounding strained but triumphant. But prolonged proximity to humans causes cumulative damage. The parasites are adapting, finding microscopic gaps in their defenses. The Karvash commander ordered a retreat, but it was too late. Inside their sealed armor, systems were failing catastrophically. 3 Karvash collapsed. The others began firing indiscriminately, their weapons overloading. "We've barricaded ourselves in the auxiliary lab," Diana reported. "They can't get to us, and their reinforcements won't risk the same exposure." The command center erupted in cheers, but Alina remained grim. "They'll adjust their tactics. Next time, they'll just bombard human positions from orbit." As if confirming her fears, the main Karvash vessel launched a barrage of energy weapons toward Mars. The outpost's shield generators, designed for radiation protection rather than military defense, wouldn't withstand such an assault. In that moment, Marcus Chen, who had been analyzing data streamed from the Göbekli tape installation, looked up with sudden understanding. "The awakened ones," he said urgently. "Dr. Okuffer's discovery about humans with control abilities. They're the key. I've been cross-referencing genetic markers with reported telekinetic incidents worldwide." He pulled up an image of a teenage girl with intense eyes and a serious expression. "My daughter, Zoe. She's showing the strongest control signature ever recorded." "Your daughter?" Helena asked incredulously. "She inherited certain genetic markers from me. Markers I now realize were sentinel adaptations," Marcus explained. "If the parasites can adapt to Karvash technology with passive exposure, imagine what someone who can actively direct them might accomplish." The main display showed the Karvash weapons fire approaching Mars outpost. Diana's face appeared one last time, calm despite the imminent impact. "Alina," she said simply, "make them pay." Zoe, Chen had been ignoring her father's calls for 3 days when the government agents arrived at her mother's apartment in Berkeley. At 17, she had perfected the art of resentment, resenting her father's obsession with invisible ecosystems that had cost him his career, resenting her parents' divorce, resenting being ordinary in a world that celebrated exceptionalism. "We're not here to arrest you," the lead agent clarified as Zoe glared suspiciously. "Your father sent us. You're needed at the Berkeley Xenobiology lab immediately." "I haven't spoken to my dad in months," Zoe replied, crossing her arms. "And I have a calculus test tomorrow." The agent's phone floated out of his pocket and hovered between them. Zoe stared at it, then at her outstretched hand that she didn't remember raising. The phone rotated slowly in midair. "That's not possible," she whispered, though she could feel something. A connection. A stream of energy flowing from her body to the device. There are 217 documented cases of teenagers manifesting similar abilities in the past 48 hours, the agent said, seemingly unfazed as she carefully lowered his phone back into his hand. "Your father believes you may have the strongest genetic markers for control capability." 3 hours later, Zoe stood in a laboratory surrounded by scientists, military personnel, and one Commonwealth representative. Her father watched anxiously from behind a glass partition, still quarantined after his return from the Commonwealth ship. "Just focus on the test object," the supervising scientist instructed, pointing to a small alien device on the table. "Try to feel the energy flowing through it, like you did with the phone." Zoe closed her eyes, concentrating. The room's temperature seemed to drop as energy gathered around her. The alien device not only activated, it completely reconfigured itself, parts shifting into new arrangements. "Extraordinary," the Commonwealth observer murmured. "She's not just interrupting its function, she's reprogramming it at the quantum level." A screen on the wall showed similar testing occurring worldwide. Teenagers and young adults discovering abilities that defied conventional physics. Some could only disable technology. Others could manipulate it in limited ways. But none showed Zoe's level of control. It hurts, she gasped as the energy flow intensified. A nosebleed started, dark drops splattering on the white floor. It feels like I'm being rewired from inside. Because you are, her father said, his voice coming through the intercom. The markers in your DNA, they're accelerating their integration with your nervous system. You knew this would happen, she demanded, anger flaring. The lights in the lab flickered dangerously. I suspected something, he admitted. Your migraines, your intuitive understanding of complex systems, these were signs, but I never imagined this level of manifestation. The Commonwealth representative approached cautiously. We've seen similar evolutionary jumps in other species, usually over centuries, not days. Something is catalyzing the process. The countdown, a military officer interjected, showing footage from activated Sentinel sites worldwide. 72 hours before the solar system sterilization protocol initializes, the defensive grid is forcing an accelerated adaptation. Zoe wiped blood from her nose. You want me to help stop it? More than that, her father said solemnly. The Mars outpost has gone silent. The Carvash destroyed it 20 minutes ago. They're moving inward through the solar system, targeting all human installations. The Commonwealth ships are retreating. They can't match Carvash firepower. What exactly am I supposed to do against an alien armada? Zoe demanded. The answer came from an unexpected source. Ambassador Trelnak stepped forward, still weakened but determined. The Carvash conquered my homeworld 300 years ago, the alien said. They believe themselves invincible because their technology is biologically shielded against conventional threats. But you, the alien gestured at Zoe, you are not conventional. You don't just carry the parasites. You direct them with conscious intent. Zoe looked from the alien to her father. You want me to be a weapon. I want you to survive, Marcus replied. All of us. The Carvash won't stop with defeating Earth's defenses. They'll exterminate humanity completely. The final elimination of Sentinel influence from the galaxy. Alarms blared throughout the facility. The tactical display showed Carvash ships accelerating toward Earth. Estimated time to engagement, 6 hours. Zoe closed her eyes again, feeling the strange energy flowing through her veins. When she opened them, they glinted with an unnatural luminescence. Then let's show them what we can do. New York burned. London flooded. Beijing crumbled. The Carvash assault had begun without warning. Precise strikes against Earth's major population centers, forcing a global evacuation to predetermined shelters. Their strategy was clear: eliminate human concentrations to prevent the microorganisms from reaching critical mass. Elena Reyes stood in what remained of the Geneva Command Center, dust coating her uniform as tactical displays showed the devastation unfolding worldwide. Commonwealth forces had withdrawn to the edge of the solar system, unable or unwilling to challenge Carvash supremacy. Status report on Göbekli tape, she demanded, her voice hoarse from hours of issuing evacuation orders. Dr. Okafor's team has secured the control chamber, came the response. The countdown continues, 41 hours until the sterilization protocol activates. A technician looked up from his console. Commander, we're tracking Carvash dropships, hundreds of them. They're deploying ground forces to secure the activated Sentinel sites. Satellite imagery showed the alien troops advancing on ancient structures worldwide. They moved with precision, their sealed armor and energy shields supposedly impervious to the microorganisms after their Mars experience. They're adapting faster than we are, Elena muttered. The Carvash had developed new weapons that killed humans from a distance without requiring direct contact, preventing the parasites from affecting their technology. Not all of us, Marcus Chen replied, joining her at the command table. The physicist looked haggard, aged years and days. The facilities are reporting remarkable progress with the awakened subjects. Progress won't matter if we can't deploy them in time, Elena countered. Where's your daughter now? En route to Turkey with the Special Response Team, Marcus said. If anyone can interface with the Sentinel systems and halt the countdown, it's Zoe. In the skies above Göbekli Tepe, Zhou Chen stared out the helicopter window, watching Karvash forces form a perimeter around the ancient site. Beside her, 5 other teenagers with similar genetic markers checked their minimal equipment. They had no weapons except themselves. "I never wanted to be special," a boy from Nigeria whispered, his eyes glowing with the same unnatural light as Zhou's. "None of us did," she replied, feeling the strange connection between them. A network of shared energy and purpose that had formed spontaneously during their accelerated training. But we're what humanity has. The helicopter landed behind a ridge, concealed from Karvash sensors. As the team moved toward the ancient site, Zhou felt something pulling her forward, a resonance with the structure itself, as though it recognized her on a molecular level. Inside the underground chamber, Dr. Amara Okafor worked frantically to decipher the Sentinel control systems, her team fighting to barricade the entrance against approaching Karvash forces. "The countdown is hardwired," she explained when Zhou's team arrived. "I can't override it without higher access." "That's why we're here," Zhou said, approaching the central pillar of light where the holographic interface pulsed with increasing intensity. She placed her hand against the pillar. The connection was immediate and overwhelming, information flooding her consciousness in a torrent of images and sensations. The full truth of the Sentinels crashed through her mind, their desperate last stand, their decision to merge with early humans, their plans for revenge against those who had exterminated their civilization. Zhou screamed as the transfer intensified, blood streaming from her eyes and nose. The other awakened subjects rushed to her side, forming a circle, their combined abilities creating a feedback loop of power. "The Sentinels," she gasped through the pain. "They weren't noble protectors. They were using us, engineering us as living weapons for their revenge. We're not their children. We're their experiment." The chamber shook as Karvash forces breached the outer defenses. Through the neural connection, Zhou sensed thousands of alien troops converging on Sentinel sites worldwide. A new presence entered the chamber, Supreme Hunter Vexnar himself, his armored form towering over the humans. "The final Sentinel protocol," he said, voice resonating through his helmet. "How fitting that I should witness it personally." Zhou turned to face him, her body now suffused with energy, the other awakened subjects forming a protective circle around her. "You've hunted the Sentinels for millennia," she said, suddenly understanding. "But you never found their ultimate weapon." "Until now," Vexnar replied. "But it's too late. While you've been distracted here, my flagship has deployed our gravitic compressor. It's already burrowing toward Earth's core. Your planet has 30 minutes before it collapses into itself." Zhou's consciousness, expanded by the Sentinel interface, sensed the truth in his words, and something else he wasn't telling them. "Your creators didn't tell you what's coming from beyond the galaxy's edge," Vexnar said, almost regretfully. "They didn't make you to save this world. They made you to sacrifice it." Zhou stood facing Vexnar, the chamber trembling around them as the Karvash weapon burrowed toward Earth's core. Blood trickled from her nose, but her eyes burned with newfound clarity and purpose. "What's coming from beyond the galaxy?" she demanded. "The Void Eaters," Vexnar replied, his voice oddly respectful. "Ancient beings that consume worlds, stars, entire systems. The Sentinels detected them first, eons ago, as they began their slow approach from the intergalactic dark. And the Sentinels built Earth as a weapon against them. Not against them. For them." Vexnar's armored hand gestured at the holographic displays surrounding them. "The Sentinels were losing their war against us. In desperation, they made a bargain with the Void Eaters, offering a specially prepared world in exchange for their own survival." Understanding crashed through Zhou's consciousness. Earth is a beacon. We're the signal fire meant to guide these Void Eaters to this galaxy. Precisely. The Sentinels engineered humans to cultivate specific energy frequencies, the very ones that affect Commonwealth and Karvash technology. When fully activated, Earth would become a lighthouse visible across intergalactic space. The realization hit Amara Okafor first. The sterilization protocol. It's not about destroying alien ships. It's about finalizing the transformation of Earth into this beacon. We've hunted Sentinel technology across the stars for millennia, Vexnar continued. Not out of vengeance, but necessity. Your world is the last piece, their final revenge against the galaxy that defeated them. Zoe turned to the other awakened, their linked consciousness processing this revelation. He's telling the truth. Through their connection with the Sentinel systems, they could see the grand design. Humanity engineered to evolve into living transmitters. Earth itself a massive communications array aimed at the darkness between galaxies. Then we're doomed either way, Elena said, having arrived with reinforcements. Either your gravity weapon destroys us, or we become the beacon that dooms the galaxy. Zoe closed her eyes, diving deeper into the Sentinel interface. Maybe not. The Sentinels designed us to be adaptable, to evolve beyond their original parameters. She turned to her fellow awakened. We were meant to be transmitters, but we've become controllers instead. The Karvash flagship, Marcus suggested, understanding flashing in his eyes. If you could reach it, we'd need to get through their defenses. Elena objected. Not necessarily, Zoe said, her transformed consciousness seeing possibilities invisible to others. The microorganisms aren't just in us. They're throughout near-Earth space now, and I can extend my control through them. She knelt at the center of the chamber, the other awakened forming a circle around her. Together, they reached outward with their consciousness, establishing a network through the invisible ecosystem that now permeated Earth's orbit. Aboard his flagship, Vexnar received urgent reports of system failures throughout the vessel. Not the typical electromagnetic interference, but something new. The ship's very molecular structure was being altered. Impossible, he breathed, watching as the weapon controls reconfigured under invisible hands. Not impossible. Zoe's voice echoed through the ship's communication systems. Evolution. The Karvash gravity weapon reversed polarity, drawing back from Earth's core and turning instead toward the Sentinel installation network. Energy cascaded between the ancient sites worldwide. Following patterns Zoe's expanded consciousness dictated. What are you doing? Vexnar demanded as his ship's artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. Changing the message, Zoe replied simply. The final energy pulse from the repurposed weapon struck the network of Sentinel installations. Instead of activating the beacon to guide the Void Eaters, it permanently altered the genetic code of every human on Earth, stabilizing the transformations begun by the precursors. In the aftermath, as Commonwealth and Karvash representatives gathered in the United Nations Assembly Hall, Zoe explained what she had discovered in that moment of expanded consciousness. The Sentinels engineered us to be beacons, yes, but evolution had other plans. We became something they never anticipated. Not just carriers of their revenge, but a new species entirely. And the Void Eaters? Elena asked. Still coming, Zoe admitted. But now we're preparing to face them on our terms, not as sacrifices, but as defenders. 3 months later, an unprecedented alliance launched from Earth orbit, a joint mission of humans, Commonwealth species, and even reformed Karvash. Their destination, the darkness between galaxies, where the first tendrils of the approaching threat had been detected. On the bridge of the lead ship, Elena Reyes, Marcus Chen, and Zoe stood together, watching as Earth receded behind them. It wasn't gravity that kept aliens away from Earth all these centuries, Marcus observed. It was what we were becoming. And what's that? Elena asked. Zoe smiled as the ship accelerated toward the galactic edge. The universe's immune system. As if in response, a transmission reached them from deep space, a signal that suggested whatever waited in the intergalactic void had been evolving too, preparing for this meeting for millions of years. The true journey was just beginning.